So people are mad at Spitfire Audio about a thing that I don't think they should be mad about. Yeah. So a little bit of background for those of you who might not know. Spitfire Audio is a company that produces really high quality virtual instruments. Everything from strings and brass and percussion, you name it, they've done a sample library of it. The thing that I personally love about this company is that instead of approaching it from a software developer point, they are musicians that have worked in film and television music for a really long time, and they approach it from a production standpoint of how do I record an instrument and then have a musician reproduce that. So for me as a musician, that's really cool. I was recently introduced to their products by a good friend of mine, and something that struck me as particularly awesome is they have a whole range, Spitfire Labs, that is completely free. And it's pretty premium stuff. I do plan on making a full video about that in the future, but it's mind-blowing what they have given as like virtual instruments. Hey musicians, make a thing. Let's all make a thing. So they're a company that I personally like very much. Not long ago, Spitfire Audio, in collaboration with HBO and the television show Westworld, had like a big competition where musicians from all over were encouraged to score a scene from the titular TV show. I found out about a company like a couple of weeks too late, otherwise I would have probably entered. It was a really cool opportunity. The runners-up would win a bunch of virtual instruments and some other goodies, but the winner of this competition would win the Spitfire Audio Everything package, which is around $20,000 worth of virtual instruments, as well as a signed vinyl of the TV show score, a prop from the TV show, and a donation made in their name to prevent the spread of the current the thing. And needless to say, a whole bunch of people entered. Around 11,000 people submitted a score for the scene. That's pretty great. At time of recording, they announced the winners about yesterday, so I don't know when this video is coming up, but let's say a couple of days ago. Now, before we move on, if you were following this competition, maybe you entered yourself. You have certain opinions about the scene and how you scored it, perhaps. I did not enter. In fact, I've never seen the show, so I feel like I have a certain unbiasedness to my opinion because I don't know what the Westworld soundtrack sounds like, so I could look at the scene as scored by the winners and the runners-up with a kind of a bit more objective view as to how the music sounds with the visuals, not comparing it to the professional work by the person who's actually doing the score. And even after I found out about the competition, I didn't go look up the score because I wanted to see the announcement with my opinions unblemished. Here I am. I'm actually working on music, watching YouTube videos in the background, and in my recommended, here it is, the announcement, the Westworld competition thing in collaboration with HBO, and it's a really cool thing. Spitfire Audio, the winners are cool. And he runs through some of the runners up, and I'm like, wow, this is some of the best scoring I've heard in a long time. And these aren't even the people who were scoring the show. These are just people who entered into competitions. Really cool that they got runner-up. How good must the winner be? And if you've been following this, you'll know that the winner caught people by surprise, to say the least.
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
Now, I'm not familiar with David Kudell's work, the guy who won. What I do know is the people who chose the winner did not do so by pulling a name out of a hat. He is a good musician. The winner was chosen by the Spitfire Audio team, the creators of the show, and J.J. Abrams, who is like a executive producer or something on the... I don't watch the show. But the point is J.J. Lens Flare Abrams, you know the guy. So these are veterans in their industry who obviously know how a scene is supposed to feel when it's put to music. Now, the conversation that I want to stir here isn't, was it good or not? It was obviously good. I feel like that's a given. The conversation I want to have is, why did so many people get so very angry? Spamming the announcement video with dislikes, like some pretty hectic comments, attacking the guy on Twitter and kind of belittling his work, where again, professionals in this industry decided that he did a good job. Now you can decide for yourself. I'll link the announcement video in the description. You can decide for yourself whether or not you liked it. When I watched that first, I will admit, I felt it was unconventional. Would I have done it that way? No, but I'm not really good at music yet. He went in a very unconventional route, but he followed a lot of the best principles of scoring, and people ignored that because he did a video game aesthetic thing. And again, I don't even watch the show. As far as I know, it's like a sci-fi thing. I think AI has something to do with it, and at some point there's a line about
What's happening to him?
I think he's switching genres.
and then the aesthetic of the music changes. That's good scoring. Scoring is all about supporting the story that the filmmakers are trying to tell. It's not necessarily about imprinting your own identity or using the best instruments. You can score a film with tinfoil and a stick. And I know that out of those 11,000 people who submitted scores, and I'm sure most of them were really good, but I guarantee there's a good couple of thousand people who just did their best Hans Zimmer impersonation with like wild percussion and blah every time a vehicle crashes. Even some of the runners up, we can all admit, were fairly generic. And I mean no disrespect. Trends arise within music and composition for good reason. If you look up any composer on YouTube who's doing cinematic music or trailer music, there are certain kind of themes and certain compositional techniques, let's be honest, that most people are ripping off from Hans Zimmer, that have kind of become standard and that have kind of become the Hollywood soundtrack sound. But what David Kudell did was different and challenging and perhaps more in line with the scene than with the general sound that all TV shows now have. Was it to my personal taste of how I like scenes to be scored? Not really. One of the runners up was kind of my favorite one. It did a very Baroque interpretation almost, and it was really cool. The direction that David took it was interesting. But I guarantee that the filmmakers who made that decision felt something.
Here's a little recap of what the judges were looking for. Enhancement of the viewing experience. Does the music provoke an emotional response? Does it increase your enjoyment of what you're watching? Creative inventiveness. Has the composer done something unexpected? Is their use of sounds unusual or interesting? Storytelling. Does the music help progress the story being told? Does it provide context to the characters' experiences on screen?
I mentioned that scoring is all about supporting a story, and that is very much a feeling thing. And I don't think you can convey genuine emotion with generic rhythmic hits that every other composer is doing. One of the co-founders of Spitfire Audio did a video on his personal channel where he discussed this whole thing, and he touches on a couple of really good points. He goes in a bit hard, I'm not gonna lie. He might be a bit more mad than he needs to be. But something he touches on is that we can't have dogma within composition. We can't have dogma within music. Because as soon as we decide that so-and-so is a good way of scoring a scene and so-and-so is bad. Oh, he used 8-bit video game sounds instead of really expensive strings and hard-hitting brass. Oh, his scoring isn't as good? What? Every single one of my favorite composers pushes the boundaries and tries to do something different. And now when this guy tried to do something different, people were mad because he didn't just go for the generic strings thing. If you did watch the reveal and you didn't really like David's interpretation and the fact that he won, I encourage you to go back and really interpret what he did. There is a beautiful theme that is established within the chiptune and brought back repeatedly with different instrumentation, and at the last kind of climax of the scene, it comes back and recontextualize. It's a 3-minute scene and he scored it with consistency. The point I'm trying to make is that music is nuanced and beautiful for that reason. It hurts me so much that a community that is supposed to be all about creation and support, Spitfire Audio works really hard to not just be a software company, but be a company for musicians that supports the creation of music by musicians. And now, the community just turned on them. Could he have done a stronger job scoring the scene? Maybe. No composer is perfect. But I know that the industry professionals that had the responsibility of choosing the winner filtered through 11,000 people and landed on him, and I believe it's because they felt something. The thing that compelled me to make this video is that some people are saying that this ruins Spitfire Audio for them. Like I said, they have an extremely versatile set of free instruments on their website, no hassle. They have worked with some of the best names in film and television. Personally, they're my favorite virtual instrument manufacturer because they think of musicians first. Anyway, I'll leave a link to their website and their YouTube channel if you're interested in this whole thing. There's never been a better time to be alive if you're into orchestral music. And I feel like Spitfire Audio has done a lot to make that possible. Anyway, I don't know what my point is anymore. Think creatively. Hashtag Spitfire Audio did nothing wrong. Goodbye. That's actually a really cool sound.